You are going to bill them $340,000 for this project or you are fired. Blake Huxley stood in my office doorway, arms crossed, face red with the kind of anger that comes from someone who has never been told no. I looked up from my desk, where I had been reviewing the proposal for Solaris Dynamics, our largest client, representing 40% of our annual revenue. This was the same client I had personally brought in 8 years ago. The same client who trusted me implicitly. The files on my desk detailed our planned efficiency improvements for their main factory in Ohio, a project we had spent weeks scoping out. The floor-to-ceiling windows behind me looked out over the busy streets of Chicago, a view I had earned through years of dedication. But at this moment, the city felt distant compared to the sudden tension inside this room. The project cost is $185,000, I said evenly, maintaining my composure. That is what the scope requires. That is what I am billing. The client has budget approval for $350,000. They are expecting to pay that much, Blake snapped, taking a step closer. We are leaving money on the table, David. In consulting, you charge what the market will bear, not what your spreadsheet says. We are providing honest billing, I countered. There is a significant difference between maximizing profit and outright fraud. If we charge them for hours we do not work, it is fraud. Blake stepped fully into my office, closing the door behind him. His cologne was expensive and his suit was custom, but everything about him screamed new money, trying to look like old money. He had inherited Huxley Consulting from his father 3 years ago. In those 3 years, he had systematically destroyed everything the old man had built on integrity. The old office had been simple, professional, and welcoming. Blake had instantly spent hundreds of thousands of dollars remodeling it with polished marble and gold accents, a physical representation of his hollow values. He did not care about the clients. He only cared about the prestige and the cash flow. David, I am not asking. I am telling you, inflate the proposal to $340,000, or I will find someone who will. My mind raced as I thought of the countless hours my team and I had invested in analyzing Solaris Dynamics operations, cataloging every inefficiency, and drafting a realistic plan that would yield results. It was honest labor, and I was proud of it. I stood up slowly, meeting his eyes. Then you will need to find someone who will, because I will not defraud a client who has trusted me for 8 years. This is not fraud, it is business, it is fraud. And when Solaris finds out, and they will sue us into oblivion and take every other client with them. Blake's jaw clenched, his eyes narrowing to slits. You are fired, effective immediately. Pack your office and be out by the end of business today. He turned and walked out, leaving my door wide open. I could see heads popping up over cubicle walls. Everyone had heard. I stood there for exactly 10 seconds, my heart pounding. Then I sat back down and opened my laptop. If Blake wanted to play this game, I would play it better. I pulled up my client list, 37 accounts. I had personally brought in 28 of them. They did not have relationships with Huxley Consulting. They had relationships with me. I started making calls. My name is David Lawson. At 48 years old, I was the Senior Vice President of Client Relations at Huxley Consulting, a management consulting firm specializing in operational efficiency for major companies. I grew up in a middle-class family in Ohio. My father was a union electrician. My mother taught elementary school. They were not wealthy, but they were rich in the ways that mattered: integrity, work ethic, and treating people with respect. My father had a saying, "Your reputation is built in inches and lost in miles." He had seen too many contractors cut corners, overcharge clients, or do shoddy work. They would make quick money and then lose everything when word got around. That lesson shaped my entire career. I built relationships based on trust. I never overpromised and I never overbilled. When I told clients something would cost $185,000, it cost exactly that. When I said we would deliver by Friday, we delivered by Thursday. That is why clients stayed with me for years. That is why they referred their colleagues. That is why I had built Huxley Consulting's client base from 12 accounts to 37 in 8 years. And that is why Blake Huxley's demand to defraud Solaris Dynamics made my blood boil. I refused to let his greed ruin the career I had worked so hard to build. The first call I made was to Julian Montgomery, the chief executive officer of Solaris Dynamics. David. His voice came through warm and friendly. I was just reviewing your proposal. It looks solid, as always. Julian, I need to tell you something, and I need you to keep it confidential for the next few hours. His tone shifted immediately, sensing the tension. What is wrong? I was just fired from Huxley Consulting. Silence stretched over the line before he spoke. Fired? Why? I took a deep breath. Blake Huxley ordered me to inflate your proposal from $185,000 to $340,000. When I refused, he terminated me on the spot. He wanted to overcharge us by that much. That is almost double. I know I would not do it, so I am out. Where are you going? Julian asked. I do not know yet, but I wanted to give you a heads up. Julian was quiet for a moment. Solaris's loyalty is to you, David, not to some consulting firm. You have saved us millions of dollars over the years. We trust you. Keep me posted on your next move. We will follow. I hung up and immediately called Catherine Hayes, the chief financial officer of Summit Technologies. David, how is my favorite consultant? Catherine, I have got news. I am leaving Huxley Consulting today. I gave her the abbreviated version of what had occurred. She listened without interrupting, her silence growing heavier. So Blake is an idiot and a crook. Got it, she said when I finished. When you figure out your next move, call me. We will move our business wherever you are. I made a third call, a fourth, and a fifth. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I had spoken to 18 clients. 16 of them said the exact same thing. They would follow me wherever I went. I started doing the math in my head. Those 16 accounts represented approximately $8,200,000 in annual billing. My office phone rang. It was the internal line. I ignored it. Then my personal cell phone buzzed. It was Blake, I answered. Yes? What the hell do you think you were doing? Blake bellowed. Packing my office. You told me to be out by the end of business. I just got a call from Catherine Hayes saying she is terminating our contract. Did you tell her about our conversation? I told her I was leaving. She drew her own conclusions. You are sabotaging my company. I am informing my clients about a staffing change. If they choose to leave, that is their business decision. You signed a non-compete agreement. I signed an agreement not to work for a direct competitor for 12 months. I am not working for anyone right now. I am unemployed, Blake. You made sure of that. I could hear his breathing, heavy and angry. If you steal my clients, they are not your clients. They never were. They are mine. I brought them in. I managed them. I built those relationships. You just cashed the checks. I hung up at 3:45 in the afternoon. My office door slammed open. Blake stormed in, followed by 2 security guards and Walter Cole, the corporate attorney for Huxley Consulting. Mr. Lawson, Walter said formally, we need you to hand over your laptop and phone immediately. I looked up from the cardboard box I was packing. My personal phone, any device that may contain proprietary company information. My phone is my personal property. My laptop is company property, and I was planning to return it on my way out. I closed the laptop, unplugged it, and held it out. Blake snatched it from my hands. Check his call history, Blake snapped at Walter, forgetting in his rage that I was not a female. He has been calling clients all day. On my personal phone, I said calmly, correcting him with my presence, which you have no legal right to access. If you have stolen confidential client information, I have not stolen anything. Client contact information is not proprietary. Their phone numbers are publicly available. My relationships with them are my own. Blake's face was turning purple. You called them. You told them to leave. I informed them of a staffing change. That is not illegal. Walter held up a hand. Mr. Huxley, let me handle this. He turned to me. Mr. Lawson, did you use company resources to contact clients after your termination? I used my personal phone to make personal calls. Did you encourage clients to terminate their contracts with Huxley Consulting? I told them I was leaving and that they should review their account management carefully going forward. Each client made their own decision. Blake stepped closer, his fists clenched. You think you are so smart? You think you can just walk out of here and take everything I built? Everything you built? I brought in 75% of this firm's current revenue. I managed every major client relationship. You inherited a company from your father and spent 3 years dismantling everything he created. Get out, Blake said, his voice low and dangerous. Get out right now. I was already leaving. I picked up my box and walked toward the door. As I passed Blake, he grabbed my arm. This is not over, he sneered. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. You should remove your hand. Witnesses are watching, and assault is a serious charge. I was halfway across the parking lot when I heard rapid footsteps behind me. Evelyn Rojas caught up, slightly out of breath, her eyes wide with a mix of anxiety and excitement. David, wait. I stopped and turned. Evelyn, if Blake sees you talking to me, he will make your life miserable. I do not care. Half the office does not care anymore. She glanced back at the corporate building. I heard what happened. The whole floor heard, and I want you to know that whatever you do next, I am in. Are you sure? I am serious. I have been looking for an exit strategy since Blake took over 3 years ago. Before I could respond, the building's front doors swung open. Blake emerged, talking rapidly on his phone. He spotted us and his eyes narrowed. He ended his call and marched toward us. Rojas, get back inside. Now, Blake ordered. Evelyn did not move. I am on my break, Blake. I do not care. You are not to have any contact with Mr. Lawson. To stand in a public parking lot having a conversation? Evelyn crossed her arms. I am pretty sure that is perfectly within my rights. Get inside, Blake said to Evelyn. We need to reassign David's accounts immediately. You are taking over Solaris Dynamics. Evelyn's eyebrows shot up. Me? I do not know anything about their manufacturing operations. Then learn. The proposal needs to go out by the end of the week. What proposal? The one David was working on. $340,000 for the efficiency project. Evelyn looked at me, then back at Blake. The project scope only justifies about $185,000. The client has a budget for $350,000. We are pricing at $340,000. But that is overcharging them by almost double. It is what I am telling you to do, unless you want to join David in unemployment. The parking lot went quiet. A gentle breeze blew through the trees. Evelyn stood there for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders, looking Blake directly in the eye. I quit. Blake's mouth fell open in shock. What? I quit, effective immediately. I am not going to overcharge a client, and I am not going to work for someone who demands that I do. You cannot just quit. I just did. Evelyn turned to me. Can we talk about opportunities? Absolutely, I smiled. We walked toward my car, leaving Blake standing in the hot parking lot sputtering. You are both fired, he shouted after us, his voice cracking. And I am calling my lawyer. Evelyn did not even look back. We reached my car and I unlocked it. That felt amazing, Evelyn said, letting out a breath. Also terrifying. Do you actually have a plan? I have the beginning of a plan and 16 clients who said they would follow me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Ryan Fletcher, another senior consultant. Did Evelyn really just quit in the parking lot? Because if you are starting something, I am interested. I showed Evelyn the text. Another text came through. It was from Sophia Davis. Heard what happened. Count me in if you need a data specialist. Then Lucas Ward texted. Blake just announced an emergency all-hands meeting. Everyone is pissed. At least 4 of us are planning to walk. Are you hiring? I looked at Evelyn, a sense of destiny washing over me. I think we are starting a company. I went home and sat down with my laptop at my kitchen table. If I was going to do this, actually start my own firm, I needed to move fast. I opened a new document and started writing Lawson Consulting Group business plan. I worked through the night, fueled by black coffee and adrenaline. I outlined the business structure. An LLC, single member to start, with equity options for future partners. Services, management consulting, operational efficiency, and strategic planning. Everything I had been doing at Huxley, but with transparent pricing and ethical billing. I mapped out the office requirements. A shared co-working space to start to keep the overhead low. I planned the team, myself plus Evelyn, and potentially the other Huxley consultants who had reached out. The pricing would be competitive but completely honest. No inflated proposals and no hidden fees. For client acquisition, I already had commitments from 16 accounts, representing over $8 million in annual revenue. By 3 o'clock in the morning, I had a complete business plan. By 4 o'clock in the morning, I had filed the LLC paperwork online. By 5 o'clock in the morning, I had secured a co-working space membership. By 6 o'clock in the morning, I had drafted engagement letters for all 16 clients. By 7 o'clock in the morning, I had designed a basic logo and a website landing page. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I started making calls to finalize the arrangements. Julian Montgomery answered on the second ring. David, tell me you have got good news. Lawson Consulting Group is officially open for business as of this morning, Julian. Send me the paperwork. We will execute the contract today. Julian, I need to be transparent. I am running lean right now, I told him. It is just me and one other consultant. We do not have a fancy office, just quality work and honest billing. That is literally all we have ever wanted. Send the paperwork. My second call was to Catherine Hayes. Please tell me you are calling with the good news I have been hoping to hear. Lawson Consulting Group is live. If Summit Tech wants to transfer, yes, send everything immediately. By 9 o'clock in the morning, I had spoken to 12 of the 16 clients. All 12 were executing transfer agreements. At exactly 9:05 in the morning, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, I answered. Is this David Lawson? The voice was screaming. It was Blake Huxley. This is David. Where are my clients? I have got termination notices from 12 companies. 12 in the last hour. I pulled the phone away from my ear slightly. Blake, you need to calm down. Calm down? You have stolen my entire client base. I have not stolen anything. The clients made independent decisions based on how they want to be treated. You violated your non-compete. I did not. I checked with a lawyer last night. I am not working for a competitor. I started my own firm, and under local regulations, the narrow non-compete you forced us to sign does not apply to this situation. I will sue you. On what grounds? The clients terminated their contracts legally, following the standard 30-day notice clause. And I did not solicit them while employed by you. I merely informed them of a staffing change. You planned this. I responded to your decision to fire me. What I did after that is my business, not yours. I could hear other voices in the background of the call, shouting and chaos. Blake, what is going on there? I am standing in an empty lobby because half my consulting staff just walked out. They are saying they are going to work for you. What? Evelyn Rojas, Ryan Fletcher, Sophia Davis, Lucas Ward, all of them. I had not even talked to any of them except Evelyn the day before. Blake, I did not recruit your staff. They left on their own accord. Then why are they all going to you? Maybe because they do not want to work for someone who orders them to defraud clients. The line went dead. My phone immediately buzzed with a text from Ryan. 4 of us just quit. Can we meet? We want to join Lawson Consulting. I texted back, coffee shop on 5th and Main, 30 minutes. They arrived together, all 4 of them. Evelyn, Ryan, Sophia, and Lucas settled around the large table I had claimed. Walk me through it, I said. What exactly happened at Huxley this morning? Sophia pulled out her phone. Blake sent an email at 8 o'clock in the morning, demanding an emergency all-hands meeting. He threatened to fire anyone who spoke to you and blamed you for the lost contracts. How did people react? Badly, Evelyn said. Ryan stood up and asked if it was true that Blake had ordered you to inflate the Solaris Dynamics proposal. Ryan grimaced. Blake's exact response was, "That is proprietary information and none of your business." Which everyone took as confirmation, Sophia added. Then Evelyn asked if Blake had fired you for refusing to overcharge a client. And Blake completely lost it, Lucas said. Started yelling about loyalty and threatening us. It was ugly. That is when I stood up and quit, Ryan said. I told him I would not work for someone who demanded fraud from employees. I quit 30 seconds later, Sophia said. I made it a minute, Lucas added. And then 3 other junior consultants quit too. They followed us out. I leaned back, amazed at how quickly everything was moving. So Blake has lost 12 clients and 7 consultants in less than 24 hours. Sounds about right, Ryan said. Then he looked at me. So do you have room for 4 more consultants? Before we go any further, I said, looking at each of them, I need to be clear about what you are getting into. I started this company 12 hours ago. I have no office, no infrastructure, and no guarantee this works. What I do have is 12 clients committed to transferring their business. That is enough revenue to run lean, but this is not going to be the corporate environment you have experienced in the past. Good, Ryan said. Because the corporate environment we are used to sucks. Blake has turned Huxley into a nightmare, Sophia added. Why now? I asked. Because you actually did it, Lucas said. You stood up to him. You walked away. And you built something new in less than 24 hours. That is the kind of leadership we want to follow. All right, I said. Here is what I am thinking. We structure Lawson Consulting Group with equity options for partners. We run lean, use the co-working space, and keep overhead minimal. We focus on quality work, transparent pricing, and building long-term client relationships. What about compensation? Ryan asked. Competitive salaries, but probably not quite what Blake was paying initially. That will be offset by equity stakes and profit sharing. I am in, Evelyn said immediately. Same, Sophia said. Me too, Lucas added. Ryan nodded. Let's do it. We spent the next 4 hours at that coffee shop building a company from scratch. Evelyn took the operational lead. Ryan became our technical director. Sophia headed our data practice. Lucas took business development, and I remained the face of client relationships. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we had a functional organizational chart. By 3 o'clock, we had signed partnership agreements. By 4 o'clock, we had moved into our co-working space. By 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we were fully operational. The following morning, I arrived at our co-working space at 7 o'clock. Evelyn was already there, analyzing her screen. We have a problem, she said. Blake sent an email to all our new clients last night, trying to sabotage us. I read the message. Blake claimed I had been fired for performance issues and warned that I was using proprietary information. He offered a 25% discount on all future services to any client who remained with Huxley Consulting. My phone rang. It was Julian Montgomery. David, I just got a ridiculous email from Blake Huxley. He claims you had performance issues. You are the best consultant I have worked with in 20 years. I am forwarding this to my legal team. If he is making false statements to interfere with your business, that is tortious interference. After I hung up, my phone rang continuously. Clients were forwarding Blake's email, all angry on my behalf. By 9 o'clock in the morning, I had received 12 calls. Not one client was reconsidering their decision. Instead, they were discussing legal options. This is actually working in our favor, Ryan observed. Blake is making himself look desperate. We take the high road, I said. Evelyn, draft an email to all clients. Thank them for their loyalty and assure them we are ready to deliver. Do not mention Blake's email at all. My phone rang again. It was Walter Cole, Huxley's corporate attorney, claiming Blake believed I was using proprietary info. Walter, client relationships are not proprietary, I said. Several clients already offered to fund my defense if he sues. You should warn him that he is spiraling. Walter sighed. I will convey your position. The Solaris Dynamics project kicked off the following Monday. David, walking away from a secure job to preserve your integrity took guts, Julian said on our conference call. It is exactly why we are here. Let's make this a showcase for ethical consulting, I replied. We spent 6 weeks analyzing their manufacturing division, identifying bottlenecks, and implementing solutions. We increased throughput by 23% and saved them $2,100,000 annually. Evelyn managed the timeline, Ryan led analytical work. Sophia handled data, Lucas coordinated communication, and I oversaw the final delivery. The final bill was $185,000, exactly what I had quoted. Julian called me personally when he received it. David, Huxley would have charged us double for half the results. You have got a client for life, and I am sending 3 referrals your way. Within 3 months, Lawson Consulting Group had 23 active accounts and a wait list. We moved into a small office, hired 2 consultants, and brought on support staff. First quarter revenue hit $3,100,000 with a 34% profit margin. We were profitable from day one. A year later, we had 40 employees, 37 active clients, and $14,200,000 in annual revenue. At our annual meeting, I looked around the room in awe. A year ago, I told the team, I walked away from a stable job because I refused to compromise my values. I had no plan, no safety net. But I had relationships built on trust. This company exists because we chose integrity over convenience. In the long run, doing things right is the only sustainable business model. The room erupted in applause. After the meeting, Evelyn pulled me aside. You know Huxley Consulting shut down last month, right? They could not recover from losing their client base. The firm declared bankruptcy 2 weeks ago. I felt no satisfaction in that, just sadness that a legacy built by Blake's father had ended that way. What about Blake? Last I heard, he is working for a mid-sized firm in a non-leadership role, trying to rebuild his reputation. 2 years after starting Lawson Consulting Group, I spoke at a business ethics conference. The topic was Building Trust in Consulting, Why Integrity is Good Business. The room was packed. I told our story. The demand to overcharge Solaris Dynamics, getting fired, starting a company overnight and building it from scratch. During the Q&A session, a young woman raised her hand. Mr. Lawson, what would you say to someone in a similar position? I thought about it. I would say that your reputation is built in inches and lost in miles. My father taught me that. One unethical decision might seem small, but that is how you lose everything. Walking away is terrifying, but I knew I could live with uncertainty. I could not live with compromising my integrity. You might lose your job, face threats, or have people call you naive, but the alternative, betraying your values, costs you something much more important. It costs you yourself. 3 years after leaving Huxley Consulting, Lawson Consulting Group had become one of the most respected firms in our industry. We had 62 employees, $28 million in annual revenue, offices in 3 cities, and a client retention rate of 98%. Evelyn was our Chief Operating Officer, Ryan our Chief Strategy Officer, Sophia led our data science practice, and Lucas managed business development. And me? I was the Chief Executive Officer of a company that proved integrity is not a handicap in business. It is a competitive advantage. The clients who had followed me from Huxley were all still with us, bringing referrals. As for that day Blake Huxley demanded I overcharge Solaris Dynamics. It was the best firing I ever received, because it forced me to make a choice. Compromise my values for a paycheck, or walk away and build something better. I chose to walk away, and I built something better than I had ever imagined.